and welcome to Wrong Way. And this is the most exciting, most thrilling experience I've ever had on an electric rideable. This is the BEGODE Godway EX.N. So let me tell you more about it. Wrong way. Right away, also big thanks to EWheel.com for providing me this electric unicycle for testing purposes. If you want to get a wheel in Europe, feel free to use my coupon code WRONGWAY to save 5% off. And I also do get a kickback from that. Sadly, today is my last day with this beast of a wheel. I've done 500 kilometers on this wheel, which is pretty quick considering the time I had it, and I had also other wheels to choose from. Tomorrow I'll be on its way to Bonheur-sur-Seine, so you can also check out content on his channel about that wheel. I will miss it. Anyhow, this wheel is, in my eyes, quite difficult to review because there's some things that are extremely good and some things that are just outright bad. So make sure you stand till the end of the review to find out if this would be potentially a good purchase for you or not. So let's just dive into it. And this wheel, as you've seen on the title, is in my eyes the best rallycross racing wheel that I've ever laid eyes upon, because the power you get here and the torque is by far the most extreme that I've ever experienced on any wheel. And I've tried quite a bit of those. It has a 2.5 kilowatt nominal power motor and it peaks way higher than that. I mean, the app told me 20 kilowatts, but I don't believe that too much. But I think somewhere north, maybe of 7, 8 is actually quite possible. And this motor is extremely powerful. Just check out some footage of the acceleration that I had on this beast. And apart from being that quick, it also feels quick. Like compared to the veteran Sherman, the EX.N is really just like a sports wheel, like a racing wheel. It's angry, it wants to be quick. The pedals stay absolutely leveled when you accelerate. Maybe the slightest hint of pedal dipping is there, but by far not the same as the Sherman. I heard pretty much no alarms on this wheel. It's insane. Like even when doing the range test, I had 50% battery, I went 70 kilometers an hour, and it's absolutely quiet. And I can hear it because I have my RuRoc helmet, which is very good acoustically. So I heard the beeps just once when I had, I think, around 20% battery or 15, and it started beeping at me at like 65. So that's that for you. Yeah, the performance here, man, is insane. I wish I could do a top speed run on this wheel, but the wheel sadly came with a misaligned tire. I tried to align it several times with different methods, but nothing really worked out. So I topped it out at around 75 kilometers an hour. And yeah, I wish I could do more, but I feel it's just not safe enough. So maybe if I would get one at some point, which I'm actually considering, then I would also do a quicker speed run. But this thing is absolutely balls to the walls insane. But the great features don't stop there, because this wheel also has 2,700 watt-hours of capacity. And in my range test, which was one of the most extreme I've ever done in terms of speed, I've achieved 87 kilometers without depleting the battery to absolute zero. So probably like even 90, 93 would be possible. It was pretty cold that day, around I think 1 degree Celsius, which is like 33, 4 Fahrenheit. Doing 3 times 70 kilometers an hour just rolling on the street, rolling on bicycle paths, sometimes also a bit slower. And yeah, it's just amazing how the range turned out to be. It's really not that far off the veteran Sherman, which is already a very long range wheel. And because this thing has LG batteries and Samsungs, I believe it's, 2 packs of LG cells and 1 pack of Samsung cells. Yeah, the Samsung cells just give you the ultimate kick, and I think they are also a bit better than the 21700s by LG. Man, range really, really great in my eyes. I never felt really range anxiety on this wheel. I went to my mom's, which is around, I will show you the exact number of kilometers on the screen, and I actually came faster on the wheel than Google Maps was showing me via car. So that's absolutely tells you what this wheel is all about. Like, I cannot go on and on about the acceleration, how amazing it is. You can also see the comparison to Cabo Wolf Warrior on my channel. But yeah, it's absolutely insane. So range is great, acceleration is great, but the handling is also amazing. You would think that because there's 2 packs of batteries on one side and just 1 on the other side, it will be imbalanced, but it feels very stable. And I was riding it with the power pads, without the power pads, and at all times I felt very stable, secure on the wheel. It's not as comfortable of a cruiser as the Sherman, and probably at speed I do feel safer on the Sherman, but it's still very, very stable and secure, maybe just not as well laid out as the Sherman. One part of it might be the fact that the foot plates are really high off the ground, around 15 centimeters, and that's why you can also go off-road with this thing. You can carve a lot sharper. And amazingly enough, it has also less pedal dipping than my Sherman. So if you go in a turn, the pedals do dip, but it's not really extreme. It didn't really bother me. And it's probably the first hollow motor Godway and first Godway above the MSP lineup or the Aresta lineup that has no pedal dipping when going off-road. So usually the Godways just bounce up and down and then the foot plates go down, and this exhibits none of that. It's really, really enjoyable to take this thing out off-road and on-road. Although for off-road riding, at this point I have my S18, so I do prefer that for off-road riding, but this has of course way more range than that. I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with this tire. I really like the thread, and it's actually not that much bigger than a RS tire, since this is like 19.5 inches. It is very nice. I like it for turns, but I, as said, couldn't align it really well. And I heard that many riders actually have this issue with this tire. I don't know if it's like the tire itself or how Godway makes their rims, but also Sergey, you also follow him on Instagram. He also has a EX.N and experienced some wobbles or like vibrations. It's not really wobbles, vibrations above 65 kilometers an hour. And that's why I wouldn't want to go faster. He went faster, he went actually like 82. So yeah, this man is insane. But yeah, really like this tire if it was absolutely well aligned, because off-road it does pretty well, on-road also. For comfort, Sherman tire is way better, and maybe it would be cool to see this tire on this wheel. But overall, as a universal choice, I think this is just like more sporty and more trimmed towards like turns, carving, and yes, all the goodness. Yeah, as said, you can probably tell there's some things that the EX.N does that I'm really missing on the Sherman. Number one, it has more torque. Yes, I think this is the case. It has also a better feeling because the pedals stay flat and the Sherman just wobbles around. I think for heavier riders, this will be actually better, because the Sherman, actually, a couple of Shermans burned their motherboards here in the Warsaw area, And usually it's with that low speed grind. For example, if you go on sand or if you go a heavier rider and you go uphill, this will have more torque than the Sherman. It can go up to like 35 degrees and then it beeps, so it's not as good as a RS. But still very respectable, probably more than enough for everyday use. It's a little bit disappointing, of course, that it can't climb as well, but as said, for everyday situations, this will be enough. And yeah, this just delivers me all the fun that I don't have that much of on the Sherman. The Sherman's more of a cruiser wheel. This is like a sports wheel. Anyhow, in terms of features, it's pretty good on this wheel. We have a single charge board, which can charge up to 8 amps. So a full charge will be around, 3.5 hours, something like that. With the standard charger, it takes a while, 9 hours, so that could be better. I wish there was 2 ports, and also the placement is not that optimal. I think if rain comes in here, it can come to a short. BEGODE also doesn't have like any security on these ports, not that good. There's a USB port for charging. This button seeps in water through, I think at least, maybe it's not the best button. Tail light, not visible at all. Probably it's better to have an additional tail light if you're riding in the night. Front light is also disappointingly, but maybe not disappointingly, but we've seen so good lights on Monster Pro and on the RS that this single light unit is just not the best. And apparently now it doesn't want to work with the button. So there you go, that's a Guads for you. But it also has a daytime running light, which is pretty cool. And it doesn't have any additional lighting, any RGB. So yeah, no more visibility than basically this and this. In terms of speakers, it's also awesome. It's, I think, the best speakers I've ever heard on a wheel. It's super loud, a lot of bass, really amazing quality. So speakers here are awesome. And you know, there's also a trolley handle, which I used maybe twice. Worse than all of the other wheels, probably. It doesn't lock into place. And yeah, it's just not the best experience. I mean, it does the job if you once go in a store and, with it, but definitely not as comfortable as a Sherman, as, you know, King Song 16X and all the other stuff. And now let's move on to the bit of a worse stuff here, because as much fun, as much great things that the wheel has, it also has a lot of bad stuff. And if you saw my unboxing, the wheel came with a not sealed or a wrongly sealed motherboard, and I had to actually reassemble the wheel, put in my silicone inside, and fix what the factory has up. In terms of the build quality, like the shell, I think it's pretty robust. It took a couple falls, even one on camera. And it's not that bad. Probably if you fall at over, I don't know, 10 miles an hour or 20 kilometers an hour, like the front falls flat on its face, then probably these upper parts will just fall off because they're just secured in place with plastic like brackets. And here the rear part also isn't properly put in from factory, so that is bad as well. There's a hole inside of the EUC without a filter, so I had to put a filter. So I know sand, mud, debris can't go inside that easily, and most importantly, water. So there's a lot of things that I had to fix right off the way when I got the wheel. It wasn't good from factory, and this is really bothering me. Next thing I wanted to talk about is waterproofing, and this also ties into the build quality. There's just a lot of connected areas inside of the wheel. The cables just run through. There's a hole, as said, I had to filter through, so it's definitely not the best wheel in terms of waterproofing. Mattpack has been riding this wheel in snow and water, so I don't know, maybe it's nice. We'll check out also how it looks from the inside now after 500 kilometers. So this is the inside of the wheel after 500 kilometers, and I gotta say that my DIY filter here and the silicone behind the motherboard worked pretty well, because there's not so much of dust inside. Like here on the back side you can see a lot, and this is probably going through either the hole or this part here that has like a small crack underneath. Yeah, there's actually quite a bit of dust here on this side, as you can see, but I gotta tell you, like I've seen worse. Here in the motherboard area it's pretty clean, so these walls and this wall here is protecting the motherboard still from more dust ingress. So it's mostly here in the back part. It's quite a bit of it, as said, but could be also worse. Probably there's even more here on the inside, but I've expected worse. This is not too bad. I think that my DIY filter here underneath and the silicone behind the motherboard worked out well, because from the front there's also not really that much dust here in this wheel. In terms of cooling, it's actually surprisingly good, because one downside that I found out about motherboards that are on top is that there's not a lot of room for heat to escape. So because the motherboard is on the side, it has a huge ventilator. It has ventilation going up from this hole, and it's going in from the inside of the wheel well. That's why this wheel, I think, will stay really cool, and we're yet to find out an overheat hill stress test with Marty, because he has one now, so that's pretty cool. I think you have one, yeah? Yeah, you have one, Marty, right? Oh yeah, and the MOSFET placement is maybe not the best in terms of cooling, because they're just underneath. I mean, half of them are just underneath the motherboard, which is an isolator, so good on you that way. Oh yeah, one more thing I really like is that BEGODE added beefier connectors on this wheel, XT90 plugs with fuses, and there's also a separate fuse, and that is probably also why they limited the hill climbing abilities up to 35, because over that there'll be just too much current, too much amps flowing through the controller. So in terms of that, it's pretty awesome. As you can see, I've also equipped it with these power pads. I have these awesome Hextech pedals, which I really enjoy. They're really awesome on this wheel. So this also helped me with the stability. The stock pedals were pretty much rubbish. I don't use them at all. I didn't enjoy them at all. So in order to conclude this wheel, I need to tell you a couple of things, or a couple of criteria that needs to be checked so that you will get this wheel. Number one, you have to be not afraid of tinkering with the wheel, because from time to time, I would advise after every 500 kilometers to open that up, check if everything's all right, if the shell is broken, if the wooden screws are still in because they're screwed into plastic. You need to check if there's like any random holes, if everything is still intact. The second criteria for getting this wheel is you want the ultimate performance. You don't want the Sherman, you don't want the RS, you don't want other wheels, you want the fastest, the most accelerating, the torquiest package universally in one wheel. And you won't get this much fun, you won't get this much turning and insane agility and fun also when riding slow. I don't get that much fun when I'm riding slow on the Sherman. I mean, it's fun because it's comfortable, but it's not like agile or playful. This is, in my eyes. So if these two things are checked, one, you're not afraid of tinkering with the wheel, or you have a UC service really close to you, and two, you want the absolute top of the top performance available on the market, then you can get this wheel, and I think you'll be amazed how much it can deliver you. And I'm really considering of getting one right now. I'm just not that sure if the quality is there yet with the BEGODE. But I think they are actually listening to the people. They added the fuse. I think they're also coming out with new motherboards. So with that said, this is the most exciting wheel for me until now that I've ridden in 2021. And if you're still here, leave a like on the video, subscribe to see more content like this. I'll see you in the next video. See you soon.